and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast that has the science and the screaming to determine what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That year, this season, is 1971. For those of you just tuning into this episode, and we only have a couple episodes left in the season, so it's a good time, I just want to let you know that 126 movies, 28 entered this bracket. Mm-hmm. We whittled it down to 16, and in just a couple of weeks, we're going to figure out what is the greatest movie of 1971. My name is Ryan. I will be your host tonight. I've been your host all season, as we do every week. Tonight will be half movie analysis, half game show, half fun with friends. The friends are the people that I'm going to introduce next. I actually don't know who is on the panel tonight. This is wild for me, but I know that we're going to be friends. And I hope that's true because the movie we're talking about tonight is Sweetback's Baadasssss song. Mario's dad, Melvin Van Peebles' movie from 1971. Our first panelist tonight got his little butt beat last week in the Dirty Harry show. It's Mike.
Ryan, fall is here. Hear the yell. I can tell we are going to be friends.
Oh, that's from a more popular podcast, Conan O'Brien.
I didn't know you could just take over a song and say, this is my podcast song when it's been around 25 years. Can you do that? Because you know what? Baba O'Reilly, that's our fucking song now. Anybody else plays it? That's movie of the year.
Do you mean Teenage Wasteland?
No, you dork.
Oh, okay. Jack White said, yeah, Conan, you can use that song. And boy, did he run with it. And I'm sure he owes Jack White a lot of money. Also here, let me go through my notes. Let me look. It's Greg.
You know, Jack White also said, hey, I wrote a little song called Seven Nation Army. Let's not make a big deal about it. And sports just went absolutely bonkers. You cannot watch a sporting event without hearing at least one playing of Seven Nation Army.
I just found out, thanks to Rob Harvilla, how that song was titled. It's when he was a kid, he thought Salvation Army was pronounced Seven Nation Army.
That's so fun.
And people have been trying to dissect this for years. What could this mean? Who are these seven nations?
And
that's like a lot of people. That's like when a lot of people think in the Pledge of Allegiance, it's there's somebody called Richard Stans, and they're like, "Who is the historical figure?"
For which it stands. Man, people are dumb as hell.
You know what? They really are.
What other way could we start the Sweetbacks episode besides talking about the White Stripes, the whitest band of all time? I will say that we do not have a guest tonight. I did try so hard for another voice to be on the show.
Specifically Jack White.
Jack White, I wanted him here. But he or anyone else will not be here. So it's just the three of us, guys.
He said that we could use Fell in Love with a Girl, though, and now that song belongs to us.
Yeah.
So soccer stadiums, start singing that one, because that one's about to be big
just
after
1,000
tonight.
people would use it and go, bah, 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 bah.
Mike, I'm going to go to you first, man. Let's just assume that this was your first time watching Sweetback's Baadasssss song. What was your week like?
Now,
big inhale.
In this kind of genre, being challenged, I do think, is inherent to it. Even though this is probably like the grandfather to blaxploitation, they want to stick in your craw. And so when things bother you and get under your skin, you have to be like, well, is that the point? Am I giving into the Sex Pistols as I say they're kind of annoying right now? Because that's what they want me to do because I'm too square. And that's not how I feel about the Sex Pistols. That is how I feel about Sweetback's Baadasssss song. I think there's interesting things here. There's a lot you can tell he's an early director. And then there's a thing that happens so early on in the movie, you cannot get rid of the taste in your mouth. But yeah, most of it's pretty fine.
Okay. So, Mike, I was not paying attention. Sorry, Greg, I had to look at my phone. Mike thinks that this movie is Sex Pistols.
Yeah, he said that the movie is Sex Pistols, and honestly, you never have to apologize for looking at your phone to me, Ryan, because man, I love looking at my phone. I don't think it's bad.
Hey,
for
listeners,
you.
just start looking at your phone. What are you doing?
Honestly, dude, if you're listening to a podcast and you're not looking at your phone, what are you doing?
I don't care if you're driving down the 405.
Yeah.
Start looking at that phone.
Phone in hand.
Is
eyes
it weird?
on phone.
Is it like, am I the only person? I can't be the only person who, when Mike talks, I go to my Claude app and say, how will Mike respond to what I'm asking? And then see what Claude says.
Claude
That's
don't
the
know
number
me.
one thing. That's the number one thing I don't like about AI, is I don't like how much it reveals that people are basically just AI, and they just like repeat several things that they know, and you can like prompt them and they'll like say something, and you can know like that if you bring up a certain topic, it will get a story out of them.
What? That's whack. Wiggity wiggity.
Claude is like, I don't know what old punk band that has nothing to do with what we're talking about Mike will bring up, but he's going to do one of them.
But Ryan, I do sense that you want to know what I think about Sweetback.
I would love that.
I saw it one time before this week, and I have literally no memory. As I'm getting to be middle-aged, there's a lot of times I go like down to the old file cabinets and start looking through them to see like what I remember and what I don't. And sometimes you just open up a folder and it's completely empty.
This is what your parents took you to see on your 5th birthday.
Yes. And honestly, I think I was a little bit too old. I think you want to get the first viewing in there a little bit earlier. But I watched it this week twice. And the first time I came out feeling like Mike, like, okay, this is challenging. And I'm challenged because it goes out of its way to be unpleasant in a lot of different ways. And like anxiogenic, like it purposely makes you feel nervous while watching it. Like you just don't feel comfortable. You feel like the music and the cuts and the repeated dialogue. It's like sometimes it feels like your eyes are blurry. Sometimes it feels like you're living the same moment over and over again. The music is usually pleasant, but sometimes it gets a little like discordant on purpose. And then I watched it a second time, and knowing that that's like what the experience was like, I kind of girded my loins a little bit. And going in and watching it the second time, I enjoyed it a lot more. I thought it was more enjoyable on its own terms and funny and interesting. And it's one of these movies where there's a lot of performances, and so many of them are not professional performances, and they're like so much richer for that. It's got a movie that feels like a bunch of friends just got together and barely completed it. And that makes you really root for it, even like within the movie. You're just like, wow, this is like just folks making a movie, and that's so fucking cool. And I felt like the more I watched it, the more I thought this inspires so much of what comes next, not just in movies, but also like in music and pop culture. And it felt important in that way. And so I was like, I don't know if blown away is right, but certainly like, for what it is attempting to do, I think it is a staggering success when you consider that it had a lot going against it in terms of like its production.
Yeah, I think that we say this all the time, particularly when we're further away from our peak movie watching years, which let's say is mid-90s, of like that first time when a movie is this unpredictable, and unpredictable is so edge of your seaty, not in like a thriller way, but in like, I don't know what's going to happen next. So my dukes are sort of up. I just don't know, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, tasteless or not. That second time you go on the roller coaster, there is so much more movie to enjoy. I don't know how to feel about so much of this movie, and I'm a little, restrained because I know it's important. We'll talk about the grandfather, like Mike said, of blaxploitation, which I think is, he specifically said grandfather and not father. Like this could have been one step removed from the start of blaxploitation, which also Shaft came out in 1971. But whether or not it started that genre, it definitely has that, classic cliche. There was 25 people at the first Velvet Underground show, but they all started, or was it sex? Yeah, or bought the first Velvet Underground record, but they all started very famous, influential bands. You feel that in this movie, and that's not even going through hours and hours of Criterion Collection interviews of the directors. You can just feel it the entire time. There was another movie that came out, 29 years later, in 2000, directed by his son, Baadasssss, which I want to talk about a little bit too, about the making of the movie. And, that movie's just trying to do its best to show how important this is, which is hard to do. And the movie doesn't. That
movie, one, I don't think, and I felt this way about the new Ghostbusters movie, maybe the kid of the filmmaker shouldn't make it because you can't separate your love for your father, which is fine. You love your dad, whatever. But what I loved about Baadasssss is it went, what if a movie was neither dramatic nor funny?
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that movie in a little bit. But I want to dive into the specifics of this movie so bad, just the three of us. So when we come back, it's Sweetback's Baadasssss Song. After the success of his movie, The Watermelon Man, Columbia Pictures offered Melvin Van Peebles a 3-picture deal. This is roughly the time those deals would stop being offered. Van Peebles capitulated a lot on Watermelon Man, so he decided his first Columbia movie, eventually becoming an independent movie, would be everything Columbia didn't want. A movie about a black man putting his foot in the man's ass. They said no thank you, and what we got was a milestone in independent cinema, with an auteur doing whatever he wanted, however he wanted to, with one audience in mind. The low-cost film made 100 times its budget, becoming the 10th highest grosser of 1971, and allegedly creating a genre, blaxploitation, which Van Peebles decried, as did the movie Shaft, released in the same year. But the extremely popular, extremely argued about movie was selected in 2020 for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Which of those three do we think it is? Let's find out. Taste buds, I ask you this. The film opens with the dedication to all the brothers and sisters who have had enough of the man. Who is the intended audience of this film, and how do the choices Van Peebles make either include or exclude different viewers? Magic, we'll start with you.
I think part of like eschewing normal filmic rules, Van Peebles is saying, yeah, this is white people do movies like this. It's a 90s stand-up routine. Have you ever noticed?
It's Sinbad.
And so I do think he's pushing just to push to see like that's any like new art form is that it's going to stick in your crop for that reason. And so I think Greg, what word did you say? The word, it makes you get anxiety?
Anxiogenic.
Angiogenic. I think that
I forgot. Hold on. I need to give Mike a point for Greg using that word.
Anxiogenic. Yeah.
I Googled it, listeners. I had to Google. But I think so much of that is him being like, this is how we as a community feel all of the time. So I'm going to make viewers feel that. So if white people see it, they're going to be like, oh, and if black people see it, they're like, yeah, this is how I feel all of the time, because the white guy, even when he's smiling at you, gets to do whatever he wants to you.
And I mean, we're in a weird position watching this as three white dudes in 2026, so much after it came out. So does it even matter what we say? Because the facts are it worked. What he did happened. What he wanted to happen happened.
Right.
But I think why this movie might upset people, or might have like upset the like establishment, is that honestly, when there's like group shots in this, like crowd shots, it's not a bunch of black people. It's black people, white people, Hispanic people. Like it is actually, it feels like sort of a multiracial coalition. And I think that's honestly the thing that is scarier to white people about this movie than anything else, which is just like, what if all of the minority groups, what if all the subversive political elements, what if they all joined under one banner, which is something that like was kind of starting to happen in the 60s and 70s. Think of the left now. Think of how fractured the left is. It's like the left versus the left all the time, or like the left versus like liberals and establishment Democrats all the time. Mm-hmm. What if instead there was a grand coalition? And I think that's what's so scary to people about this movie, that it like sort of brings in hippies, brings in bikers to some degree, brings in feminists to some degree. There are areas where I think it falls down on the job, but it is still like building up a bigger, more inclusive tent for like a revolutionary or rebellious political movement.
And I'm not going to take away all blame from the left, but couldn't you also say that that is a major strategy of the right?
Yeah.
Is to like keep them fighting and they won't notice us.
That's what power always does, right? Power will always attempt to fracture the powerless, because when they join together, it's like that's who the system relies on, and you can never have the people standing in knowledge of their power, because if they do, then they just won't capitulate. But the like conventional wisdom is you can break people along race, you can break people along gender, you can break people along sexual identity, you can break people along class, and you do that in enough different ways, and you have all these little factions fighting each other instead of like gaining like group consciousness.
Well, let's dive into the movie then. Is it just simply it's so clearly not a mainstream movie? Like anyone who watches this, if this is at least your second movie and the first one was mainstream, you can tell that this is not a mainstream movie. Is that enough to be like, yeah? Or is the filmmaking, all the decisions, all the avant-garde, all the breaking the mold, is that helping the message?
So sometimes you'll see an art house film or an indie, And that means nothing in modern days, really. Like the rules are so interlocked and people rarely push against it. But when people are pushing against it hardcore, you're just like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to be different, you dumb asshole. And
or if you walk through like a MoMA video
that's exactly what I'm thinking
exhibit,
of. And you're like, I could see it for an hour and a half and not see a repeat, but this sucks.
But like it's been so satired too. That idea of like there's an eyeball on the screen. What does this mean?
But I think there's, even if I don't know Van Peebles' intention, watching this, it's so clearly there is an intention. And so when there's a thing that gets looped or the audio and the imagery are not completely in sync, it's not like, because I'm an artist. You're like, fuck, you're trying to tell me something and I will get there. I just have to keep cracking at it. And I don't know how you can see that MoMA video and see this and know the difference, but there is. I'm sure he was an arrogant dude, but there's no up his own assery here. It is because I think the whole movie is also, while that cool, I'm breaking filmic rules is happening, he also is like, look at this guy who dresses pretty cool and who's pretty cool doing cool shit against cops, right? Like that.
Oh,
they need to be entertained. I think so often capital A artists forget that part.
There is a, maybe not blaxploitation, but exploitation, drive-in theater, let's do cool shit. Like that's never forgotten. It might take a while in between certain segments where you're like, man, we haven't seen something cool in a long time, but it's there.
And there's like at least two performances that are laugh out loud funny, like in multiple instances. There's the guy that like Sweetback goes and sees him right after he kills the cops, and he had also worked at like the sex show that Sweetback was a part of. And then there's the preacher guy who is like
That
quasi religious figure, quasi like mountebank, like just like kind of like religious quack, almost like a pretender,
but like too smart by half, or like smart like a fox in that like if I protect you, Sweetback, I could lose my whole thing right here.
Yeah,
so like he understands what his priorities are.
Oh, and I mean he's running something really scandalous out of that church. Like they call the upstairs the farm, and there's like obviously like distressed women up there, and Sweetback what they're farmed is they're being like grown for like the sex show. That's a very disturbing element of it.
And I think that's part of the subversion, right? Is in Van Peebles talking to his people is the way he shows the warts and all of this community. That is not like, it's not like Coffee where she's a hero for sure. You can totally get on her side. Like even the people who are watching, you're going to be like, sometimes I really agree with what you're doing, and other times, what the fuck?
It's a true picaresque, right?
Yeah.
Like it is a tale of somebody who is like a social outcast, a roustabout, a scallywag, perhaps.
A rake.
And a rake, a no goodnik, and it is like him traversing the like seedy underbelly and going from place to place, and like so it is. There's a way in which this movie is like, it's so new and it's so subversive. But I think what's really cool is that he very clearly went out of his way to like invoke the Middle Ages, like invoke like mythological undercurrents, so that there is actually a way in which this is like very easily situated next to like an illuminated medieval manuscript. And he draws that connection, but I think it's very, very true. And if you go and read those old weird poems, they're super out there and they make you feel uncomfortable and defamiliarized, and that is part of like what their power is, because they also have this hardcore edge to them of just like awesomeness and weirdness.
That's what was so crazy about watching this movie, and like the difference between story and storyteller, or screenplay and director, if we want to talk about and director and editor, what they do. And he had an editor, but like, did he? Like, there's no way that he wasn't in complete.
It was like that guy's job to like cue up the scene, and
then get hit in the face when he disagreed. That's what I learned from the making of.
All of your first takes are going to be about how different this movie is, but all of your secondary takes are, this is a tale as old as time.
Yeah,
song as old as rhyme. Truly in the East, Beauty and the Beast.
Sweetback is both.
And I think also though, like we now live, like 71 feels like it was kind of a turning point with how the police were shown in movies. We have the Dirty Harry, and then like all the way up to the French Connection. And so we're just starting to like figure out what we have to say about cops. And this movie, but is showing something which is like, it's not that there are like bad evil cops. It's more like there are often bad cops who just, as like in the course of business, do really messed up things, like just take somebody out to the oil fields and beat the shit out of them.
I mean, the fact that this is why I love this podcast, and thank you guys for having me on it and letting me host.
No
but
problem.
like to watch French Connection and Dirty Harry in this season and be like, okay, so we're starting to learn that maybe cops aren't necessarily 100% pure heroes all the time. And then for Melvin to be like, or let's take that one step farther. And that reaction that you get from people about the scene. So he is, man, I don't even know where to start to begin. Like, he is sort of like, hey, come in, Sweetback, and just like be the patsy for a crime, right? And we're also going to handcuff you to this guy who is like big in the budding up Black Panther movement. They take that guy, both of them, but they beat the shit out of that guy in a field. And Sweetback has had enough, and he kills both of the cops. And then those two black guys are on the run.
He really goes to town on them too. It's not like a cutaway and then we come back and he's like, and you like just see blood all over. Like you watch him use the handcuff. Very
As brass
interesting
knuckles.
imagery.
Yeah.
Use the actual handcuff first as brass knuckles and then as like some sort of stabbing
or
implement.
whip.
Yeah.
Like, he is smacking them with the chain. And this goes back to what Mike said, like the comparison with Coffee of Coffee is only good. You know, Coffee doesn't do anything wrong, and she's a victim, and she gets revenge. There's some stuff to tackle with Sweetback, you know, like even if you're ACAB.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he is like a bad man.
He's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, it reminds me of Shaft because like you watch Shaft and you're just like, I can see why this is an appealing hero, but this is no way to treat women.
Right.
And I like
Shut your mouth.
You only see it like kind of by inference in this movie, but like very clearly he's not just a sex worker. He's like some form of pimp himself, and it seems like what he's involved in is deeply like disturbing, or would be disturbing if we saw that detailed for us.
And yeah, if any of the women were the star of this movie, the injustices he'll rise up against and throw everything and throw his whole community it's great that he's doing it and fighting against white injustice. But he is fully complicit and a power shaker in male to female injustice.
That's true. And he is sort of self-serving. Towards the end of the movie, John Amos comes in from Good Times on a motorcycle, and he only has room for one person. So he says, take the Black Panther kid. He is our future. And that's like sort of the first truly selfless thing he does.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like that whole thing of like, I'm fucking corrupted.
Right.
Like you can't build the revolution on me, but you can use my violence to like further the revolution. But he's pure Skarsgård in Andor, right? Like he is not going to see the cathedral. He's not going to get to the glorious aftertime because his soul is poisoned from what he's had to do. But he can put this kid on that bike, even though like, he can't even sit on the bike. He can put that kid on the bike and say, take him and save him. And so it's like through him you can save the movement, even though he can't really be like the force within it that like, because he's like not, I don't know. He's done too much dirty, terrible stuff.
And we see why that happens. We'll get to that later. But like the movie starts with how he is corrupted almost immediately. We have to get out of here, but I really want to bring this up right now. It's the Sidney Poitier debate of the movie. You know, there was sort of like kind of only one black star to this point, and there was one guy who owned the 60s as a leading black actor, male role. Like he got leading roles, and he could only be an upstanding citizen. Sweetback has 6 lines of dialogue the entire movie. Sidney Poitier spent the entire 1960s proving black men were articulate and reasonable and safe. Sweetback doesn't say a word. Is that the whole point? Is the silence itself the political statement?
Yeah, I think it turns him into like a terrifying force in nature. A person who talks, you can converse with, maybe build bridges, maybe persuade, predict, see their cards, and he's Bruce from Jaws. Like he is just going to come into.
It also doesn't it.
Also, he kept breaking down during the making of the movie.
Yeah, that's why you barely see him.
Doesn't it also allow for a space wherein the viewer, perhaps a black man, can like sort of insert himself? And so in a way that like Sweetback is a kind of like placeholder for the viewer to imagine how they might respond to things. I mean, he literally has whole conversations where he doesn't say anything. Like where the other person just, and it's interesting to watch how uncomfortable people are with
what a power move. Yeah. Like
dude.
you own the room.
But I do think it allows for the universality of the character, kind of, because we don't have to deal with who he is that much. We just sort of like watch him and maybe imagine ourselves in his position.
And I think that, Greg, going back to what you said earlier, like that whole point about he is broken. So decisions to be made for the future of our people, it's not going to happen with me. You know, so like I will be the blunt instrument to get you down that path.
You need like some political ideology that does have like a sunny valence to it.
Right.
And that's just not what he is going to provide for you. When you need somebody to stick the knife in, and revolutions need those people too, I suppose, but you don't build upon those people. You kind of use them like almost like a rocket. And when you achieve escape velocity, those people drop away because the revolution can't have that kind of violence perpetually as part of itself.
We can't all be X-Men Blue or X-Men Gold. We need the X-Force to go in.
Yes,
and
I was going to say that's what Cyclops.
I knew. I saw it on your face.
But we don't need the West Coast Avengers.
This is when you get Wolverine. Get your black and gray costume.
Hey, Hawkeye. If anybody ever tells you to go lead a team of Avengers, that means that team does not matter.
Yeah.
So like, get the fuck out of here. We got to take a break. But when we come back, let's recast the podcast. What else could we do on the Sweetback show? But talk about if movie of the year not just talked about 1971, but started in 1971. And who would be the Ryan? That's me. The Mike.
That's me.
And the Greg.
That's me, ladies and gentlemen.
Of that era. We're going to start with Magic first. And we're going to go to Magic for Magic. That's what I always do. That's the website I go to, Magic for Magic. Mike, who was the most magical person of 1971?
When I think of what makes Mike, magic, it's people think I'm a bit of a howdy-do that. People think there's no way I could make it in the big city. People think I just hit the tape and I'm recording everything we're doing at all times. People think I'm Clute, and that's who I'm going to put forward as the magic of 1971.
All that's so pathetic.
Now, he did pull Jane Fonda. Do we think that's possible?
Yep.
Maybe now.
Yeah, honestly, dude, you know what? You gotta play up your advantages.
Yeah, are you watching The Comeback? Because she's looking great still.
Yeah, no, that's true. Still no Anaconda in the back of her Honda, but that's fine. Greg, who's the Mike of 1971?
When I think of Mike, first of all, I think of someone mostly dresses in black. So I'm getting that all black. I'm thinking of someone who is undeniable, unstoppable, but we never quite see the man inside. Mike is the truck from Duel. It's got that big wah wah sound that he makes.
He does that all the time.
He'll run you right off the road, but we're always wondering, like, who is it? Who's in there? And we don't quite see.
I could literally say on a podcast to Mike, if nobody makes the air horn noise, I will give each of you $1 million, and he will just grit his teeth and go.
Also, may or may not be full of gas.
Almost always.
I mean, there's. Yeah, always belching out weird black smoke.
Some people are scared of me, but when they tell other people that they look at them like they're crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
When I thought about Mike for 71, I thought about you two together.
Buds.
And we have Greg, a star with incredible hair.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the tiny little man next to them. So I picked Sonny Bono next to Greg Shea.
All right. That's like a double compliment for me. I like that.
Yeah, that really is.
And Mike now lives in Denver, so hopefully similar things will happen to you guys.
Fuck off.
That's awful.
I don't go near trees.
For Mike, I've got Clute, Truck from Duel, and Sonny Bono. What are we thinking here?
All strong contenders.
I think I'm going to go with Greg. It's the Truck from Duel. It's just such a... I mean... To accuse a man with no evidence that he's full of gas, that is uncalled for. But you have all the evidence.
He does
you
have
need.
evidence. It's part of why I had to move across state lines.
could not pass California emission standards.
Let's go to Greg. Who is that? So Truck from Jewel is on the pod.
Okay.
For Greg, I will go first. Think about somebody who thinks that he's very important in the group, but is he? We don't know. Incredible head of curly hair again, and so chock full of carnal knowledge. It's Art Garfunkel. Mike, do you want to go right now?
Yup. When I think of Greg, I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Because there's a guy who talks more often who's normally standing in front of him.
I could have said that and not been insulted.
Beautiful head of curly hair. And god damn it, is he a sexy beast. As if he was full of carnal knowledge.
Carnal knowledge.
At least we both landed the plane in the same way.
I do know about doing it, ladies and gentlemen.
So much carnal knowledge with this one. Greg, who's Greg?
If at all possible, I'm going even more sexual. Okay. I also am picking a song man, a man with a song in his heart, a man who was so important to 71, except for on this show, basically, but we have brought him up multiple times. It's Tevi from Fiddler on the Roof. Again, I just have to point out, this is like one of the bigger guys you'll ever see in a movie, and yet undeniably sexual energy. Great dance, great
Harry?
song. If I were a rich man. Gwen
Stefani.
Yeah, the Gwen Stefani song, very good. And yeah, like long gray hair and beard. I just always up on that dang old roof. So
It's a
refuse to
really
get off
good
the
one.
roof.
yeah, dude. Once I'm up there, it's like, oh god.
It's a really good one, Greg, but I think Art Garfunkel is going to take this
Yeah,
down.
that
All
was
right.
clear.
That's 3 for Mike for getting it right.
Once again,
and
I'm
3 for Green.
Garfunkel.
All right. Now this is probably the most important one, the host of the 1971 season. Greg, what do you got?
Somebody that is obviously very funny, obviously can put together a big plan full of whimsy. Somebody who also has like that sort of angry edge in that, though. So it's the whimsy and the anger. I'm thinking, of course, of Gene Wilder, specifically probably this year because he was Willy Wonka from the Chocolate Factory. But I've always thought it was interesting.
Oh, Willy Wonka from the Chocolate Factory?
You know, yeah, Will Wonka, the chocolatier.
Chocolate financier?
But I've always thought it was interesting the way Wilder was at once one of those comics that's like very humorous, but also a lot of his humor is like all of these fucking stupid idiots. And something about that reminded me of you, Ryan.
The 2 people who are shorter than me that do my bidding that I was just frustrated with all the time.
Your wife Oompa and your daughter Loompa.
Those are the 2.
They always sing atonally.
I thought about somebody who just a superstar, but like maybe not his prime yet, which I learned about in our Pro Stars segment not but a week ago. And somebody who talks okay now, but we don't know for how long. I cast myself as Muhammad Ali.
Hard to argue against that. You are the greatest.
Thank you. Oh, hold on.
Boop.
Mike, who you got?
When I think of Ryan, it's an enigmatic leader. You're not sure why he's doing what he's doing.
Oh, that's what enigmatic means.
You're not sure if he's on your side or not. He says, isn't this going to be fun and charming? But you're always a little on edge. And I cannot tell you how many times I've counted when, Ryan, you've asked, is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a blowing? It's also fucking Willy Wonka. Clearly.
All right, so I think I have to give this one to Greg for Mike's unoriginality, just copying me and Greg the entire night.
I also had that same answer. Looks down his notes with nothing there. Ryan, can we pick
the
a
note
guest?
of ask recast the podcast question mark? What does this mean?
Yeah. Can we pick a guest from 71?
Sure.
Much like Fiddler on the Roof, I feel like without ever being part of a project that we talked about on the show, we literally talked about this person every single episode. I think our 1971 guest should be Cher.
Oh, Cher, really?
Yeah, Cher.
I thought you were going to say Shaft.
Shaft. Cher and Shaft
Sherf.
together. Sherft.
I thought it so far into your first start of the word, shh, and I was still thinking it might be Shaft.
He's
but then
talking about Shaft.
I do. Shut your mouth. I do think that Cher was a really big deal. I'm surprised that we didn't find some time to talk about her more. And still a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
you talk to a Cher fan today, they are obsessed. Mike, Cher or Shaft?
Share.
Okay. Cher is in. Good job, Greg. He is our
Awesome.
Cher is our
Shaft.
Rick Moranis of the Ghostbusters of this segment. Hey guys, go to Spotify, subscribe, and like and comment on the 1971 Movie of the Year podcast. You get Willy Wonka, Art Garfunkel, and the Truck from Duel talking about the current movies of the time. When we come back, more Sweetback's Badass Song. Taste Buds, thanks for coming back. Is this one of those movies that is better to have watched than to be actively watching? I know that's like a weird thing for such film critics as us to say, but like, is this kind of better to already have seen it? Greg, we'll start with you.
It does. It reminds me in that way of like the book, The Sound of the Fury. The whole time you're reading The Sound of the Fury by Faulkner, you're like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Like,
Fuck sound, fuck fury.
you get through Benji's part and you're like, okay, I did it. And then you get to Quentin's part and it's like 100 times harder to read. Fuck you, dude. I can't take this anymore. And then the second you finish, you're just like, that's the greatest book I've ever read.
This
in
is
my
why lit
entire
majors
life.
read Tom Clancy for like 20 years after they graduate.
Yes.
It's just so they can understand what's going on. Because like, I love talking about the books I read in college
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of time when you're watching this movie, you're not like having the most fun you could in that moment. Like there's a lot of movies that are thinkers and that are challenging, that are more, I think, entertaining to actually watch. But this is up there with like Come and See or The Piano Teacher, where the entire time you're watching it, you're like, "Ugh," and then as soon as it's over and it all settles in, you find that like later that day you're thinking about it, later that week you're thinking about it, and it has fully made all of its points.
And yeah, let's be clear. This is not a knock against the movie or even a critical analysis. This is just, look, man, some movies are hard. And
Well, and
Yeah,
that's
totally.
the movies you said, Greg and Ryan, the books you've mentioned. That is good art. You don't go, oh man, remember that Tom Clancy novel that's so different from those other Tom Clancy novels? Like,
well, except for Rainbow Six, man, that one will stay with me
it was
forever.
based on a video game. So, but it's art. Garfunkel is hard, and
Funkel.
that like good art makes you think about it harder. But it is an experience, and experiences tend to not be fucking cotton candy, right?
And
You
like
have
it's trying to challenge you. It's
Yes.
trying to push you out of like it's trying to make you confront the fact, especially if you're a white audience member, that the movies so often just conform to what you already expect and they're exactly what you want and they're like
Right.
made to order so that they are pleasing to you. And that underneath that like pleasing quality is something kind of menacing and terrible because it's actually like the hegemony like pressing on you and telling you what you're allowed to conceive of and think of and how things are allowed to be. And this movie defies all of those expectations, and that is difficult because we are trying to settle into the common experience of watching a movie. But I think it makes its own terms, and once you accept them, I do think the movie gets more watchable the second time you've seen it.
Sure.
Because you understand what its language and grammar is, and then it doesn't. You're still kind of uncomfortable, but you're no longer fully uncomfortable.
Well, I'll even push back on that, or not push back, but push forward.
This is
on
a
that.
podcast. I don't think we want to be disagreeing with each other.
Okay, I'm sorry. The podcast of it all starts with me saying this now, is that it's not even the second time, but it's the second half.
Yeah.
Like the first half is so crazy, and it's got a lot of scenes that we have not even talked about yet. Like we are 45 minutes into the show, and there's so much fucked up shit that we have not gone into specifics about.
We've arguably
but
not talked about any scene.
we talked about that scene where he killed the cop.
Yeah,
We
this
talked
is the
about a scene. That's true.
most spoiler-free podcast of all time. But like, I do kind of want everybody to experience it themselves for the first time. But the second half is not just he's not out of tricks, but like he is sort of reverting to the fact that like I do have to tell the story of what happens to this person. There are certain constraints you are just held by.
But yeah, I do think the weird edits, the artistic stuff is it stays throughout the whole film, but it does fire hose down your throat at the beginning. So it's like strap in, get used to it, and then just like the the rules of a plot and a movie, and it is not that MoMA film, so it does have those. It's like, okay, we'll mellow out a little. But also, I think you get used to them. And so when it does the repeat line and like flash, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. You're like, I don't know what's going on yet. I bet they're going to do this 4 more times. And then I'll be like, now I definitely know what's happening when you're in a dark bridge surrounded by bikers.
Absolutely. There's like, you're finding comfort in the discomfort as opposed to the absolutely not knowing what's going on. And there's the stuff in the beginning, we'll talk about it real quick, is Melvin Van Peebles' 10-year-old son, Mario, plays young Sweetback, who is in a sex scene with an adult woman. It's the first thing we see, or no, it's the first big thing we see. They take a orphan in, they feed him, and then at a brothel, and then one of the sex workers has sex with him. Crazy thing to put in a movie. But then there's
crazy thing to put at the very beginning of a movie. People haven't even started their popcorn yet.
And then you learn that it's his son, and that he thought that was more defensible.
But then there's also different types of avant-garde things, if you want to call that avant-garde. Like there'll be a shot of an oil refinery, and they mess with how the cell looks.
Yeah,
so like the colors are all off, and the sound, like Greg said. Let me get to this next part. Van Peebles draws heavily on the French New Wave. Jump cuts, asynchronous sound, direct address. How does he adapt these European art cinema techniques to serve a distinctly Black American political project, and does the marriage work? Like, again, we've said this before, but this was a huge hit once Black people heard about it. And they are getting all of these avant-garde, artsy-fartsy film techniques involved. Like, do they work together, or do you guys think audiences were like, let's get to the cool part?
I think it all worked together. I think this movie is coming at you on so many different levels, because I think there's like the mythological level and the social level, but one that I think it's really coming at for like Black audiences, especially at the time, was the fact that he said this is starring the Black community, and that's what it feels like. You just see regular ass looking people,
which is our favorite thing about watching 70s movies, right?
Yeah, but you know what? 71, honestly, I feel like it hasn't had the same amount of normal looking people that 75 did. I feel like there's that hasn't happened as much yet. And this movie has a bunch of normal ass people, non-actors. And I think it really and he really did go out into the streets. And the other thing is, if you know LA and the LA areas, you see this is the non-glamorous side of LA. He goes past LAX. If you know what the back of LAX looks like, that's because you are a real Los Angeles resident. Nobody knows what that part of LAX looks like.
Some people say it doesn't exist.
But it's because he finds all the tucked away areas, and then he finds the people in those areas and gives them lines, or maybe walks up to people and just goes, have you seen this man? And lets them actually just be like, I think I saw this guy once before, but I'm not sure.
So there's all of that, for sure. There's a community, but there's also it is not talking down to the audience. And what separates this from so much blaxploitation is, I love a good popcorn movie, right? I can be dumb as hell. It's great time at the movies. But this has been no. You haven't, typically French New Wave people say is not for you. I'm going to say, fuck yeah, it is. So Here you go. And I think you can rise. Treat your audience like they're intelligent, and more often than not, they will rise to the occasion, no matter who the audience is.
100%. And it's absolutely not about eating your vegetables. It's about, the cinematic language that hasn't been brought over to America. It's not just Black audiences. It's most of America has no idea what these things mean. It's not just to say, I'm important, or you need to pay attention. It's no, this actually helps me get the feelings across that I want to. These are actual filmic tricks that work.
And also, is French New Wave, was it setting out to be both artsy and fartsy, or was it actually setting out to be something that was more kind of for the people? Because the movies have a warmer, realer feeling, and so it almost feels like it's become, the way we look at it now, as we know, because it was so important, is that we view it as vegetables. It's
a good question. I think that a lot of the auteurs of the French New Wave were I'm capable of more important stuff, and this is how I will do it. So if you read interviews, it is a little, it sort of puts you off and okay, but the effect is there. and the audiences are responding. That's the great thing
Yeah.
about looking back at these movies is that we know how the audiences responded.
I mean, part of what's so good about Breathless is that like he goes down into the streets and he just films in Paris, and you just see people like walking to their job at the bread factory, or having fresh bread from the bread factory, or taking flour somewhere so that it can be turned into bread. But like you see the actual like life of your average Parisian bread enjoyer or creator, and I think that like that's something that we're also seeing in this movie is that like you see the actual people that make up the lifeblood of the city, and I think that like I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong, but I wonder if all black audiences looked at Sidney Poitier and thought like that's exactly my experience, or if they thought like this is the only way in which they'll accept somebody of my skin color is he has to like be like okay, like he has to be like up to their standards,
right,
or
the
whatever.
respectability politics of
in every single way. What about the people that just like live around me? Can we be in the movies? And this movie says like, yeah, sure.
I mean, putting that thing in the credits of like this movie stars you is both the most truthful thing that happens in the movie and also that's so good for marketing.
Yeah.
And he wasn't above that. Like the whole rated X by an all white jury. Like he knew what he was doing with that shit.
And that's what I find what works in this movie. It's clear he's a genius, but he doesn't come off pretentious. And maybe it's just because they have that fucking accent, but French New Wave comes off pretentious.
Well, I think so much of it, like Greg, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Greg had mentioned bread factories and stuff like that.
Doesn't sound familiar.
In passing.
And so much of the French idea, pretentious and not, was like, hold back. We don't have to give them their medicine, their drugs all the time throughout the movie. We don't have to be Michael Bay. And so you take that how you will. Is that because it's truer to life, or is that because art is a struggle? Even watching art is a struggle. And that is here.
Yeah.
You will earn your cool parts when you buy a ticket for this movie. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, the PopFilter Hall of Fame.
Welcome to the PopFilter Hall of Fame.
That's right. It is time. We are back again in these halls of fame that we have. It's just the one hall. We're hoping to add a second one, but we don't have enough people in here. It's been so long since we've been in here. You can smell the dust. It smells like pews. You guys ever smell a church pew and be like,
Oh, dude, I love
I
pew.
get you get right in there. Just put your nose to wood and take a big whiff.
is it the age or is it what they clean them with? Like, why does old smell so good? Dust?
There's a texture to the scent.
There is a texture to the scent, Mike. That is so poetic and amazing. Let's put some people in, at least one, right? Mike, why don't we start with you?
I'll be honest. This is one of the ones where I had to pace up and down this hall to quadruple check that I'm not crazy. And so my
to do that as
theory
well.
is this person has been put forth in the past, but did not make it in because the class they're up against.
Tim Meadows.
It is. I can't believe nobody's ever brought this person up. It is a gorilla asks another gorilla if they've been hanging out with that slut Jane Goodall. A gifted child is pulling as hard as they can on a push door. Cows can talk and they're everywhere.
Women have these weird 50s glasses all across the land.
The cat eyes and beehive combo. It's Gary Larson of Far Side fame.
Yeah. Is that because you could speak Farsi, which is like a DE away from that?
I can't, but sure, let's go with that.
All right. That's a big one. That's a big one in my life for sure. Greg,
Yeah.
what do we got?
You'd have like the books just full of Far Side. Just read like 70 of them in a row. You're like, okay, that's too many in a row.
Yeah, because
Tomorrow
you do
will be
start to go a
50.
little bit crazy.
Yeah, they start to all seem too normal after a while.
Especially because a lot of them are about cavemen doing cave art. And then you're like, how meta is this? Am I just
Yeah.
looking at human art? I was so excited to get the entire collection for Christmas one year. Have not opened them up once. It's just too daunting.
It's
Yeah.
heavy, right? That's a big book.
That's why its claim to fame was the Far Side a Day calendar.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
what
dude.
you need.
It owned the calendar game for a long time.
Greg, what are we thinking?
I also was pacing up and down the halls, and when Mike started saying his, I was like, "Uh-oh, we have the same one." I don't know. This guy has been making movies. It feels like my whole life, my whole adult life, at least. And he started, like, I think at the perfect time for me. He's a huge name on this podcast. Very hard to believe he's not in the Hall of Fame, but I did my due diligence here and checked 2 different times. He just won, his film just won Best Picture. It is Paul Thomas Anderson.
That is surprising.
PTA fame. We don't have a ton of directors in there, but I am surprised about this one.
I wonder if we don't have him is when somebody, who knows who put forth Spielberg, they got yelled at by a Willy Wonka type.
Were you acting like an Oompa Loompa?
I think I was acting like a Violet.
Veruca Salt. No, you're a very Veruca Salt little girl.
Thank you.
Okay. I have somebody who I thought was in for sure. So that's the theme of this Hall of Fame is, are you serious? This is somebody who has at least shaped my personality and comedic sensibilities. Maybe a little bit for you two as well. I'm sort of relying on that. Otherwise, they're not going to make it in.
You're screwed, right? Yeah.
That's, this is someone... he can't do it. Not this time. This is somebody who is such a big deal to not just my childhood, but like everybody I liked as an adult will reference him. I'll reveal that it's a him.
Okay. Tim Allen, perhaps.
As a big influence. And then just this last year, had a documentary made about, the documentarian didn't know this, but it was about his final days. And we got to watch Paul Rubens talk about his life and his legacy and what that meant to him. A lot of hard times, but also like not just super influential on what I thought was funny and kitsch and cool, but also scandal, and to not just go into it, but come out of it and just be so regarded. So I would like to, I think I'm going to say Pee Wee Herman here.
Yeah.
But I mean 2 names when I say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're just saying Pee Wee Herman, you're taking out the fart or whatever his name was in Mystery Men entirely.
I'm saying Paul Rubens.
You know what I think about a lot? The fact that a central plot point was that the Alamo didn't have a basement. And that was also the central plot point in that Pizzagate scandal. that place also actually didn't have
Okay, so he didn't just influence good people.
Yeah.
Like, I think that some of the wrong people watched his movies, but I think he was very important. Okay.
Tough class.
This is a big one. All of people we thought were in the Hall of Fame already. So I'm going to read them again. It's Paul Rubens, Gary Larson, and Paul Thomas Anderson. We only have 2 votes each. Magic, I'm going to start with you. Paul Rubens.
No.
Greg?
I mean, I'm allowed to be political about this, right?
Sure.
Because for me, this is 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. And so...
Oh, but Mike already said no?
Yeah. So, like, I see what the landscape is here. This is 3 yeses for me. You know, I only have 2 yeses I can give. I'm not going to...
No, I think you had to have decided your 2 before we went to the voting.
So I'm not allowed to be political.
I don't know. Mike, what do you think?
I've always played it straight.
And what does that mean, though?
Where like I've fucked a vote that I'm like, this makes sense.
Okay.
But
okay.
I
I think I've heard enough. So, okay. I'm going to say we're doing Paul Rubens. And Mike, you said no.
I said no.
I say yes.
And I say yes.
Well, now I know who's getting fucked over. I can read the tea leaves.
You should always know that.
I know what
I'm going to start with Gary Larson, and I'm going to say no. Greg?
I am also going to say no, but just because I had picked out two different ones, so.
And Magic?
Yes.
Okay, so just for the record, and this is just for the stenographer in the corner, Paul Rubens did get more votes than Gary Larson. I just want her to know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Shout out to Stephanie, the stenographer.
And Greg, PTA.
Yeah, with a bullet. The best in a strong class.
Magic?
The entire Parent-Teacher Association. And all the movies they've created gets a yes from me.
But the thing is, though, it's like that you paid dues like 3 months ago, but then
Yeah.
your yearly dues are up again.
Yeah,
like,
what?
call them different things than yearly. This is a struggle for me because I think it's because it's so obvious. Maybe it is a Spielberg
Spielberg
theory.
effect?
Yeah. This
like,
is why we're
I
afraid
just-
to mention any director, Reinhold.
Can I just say The Simpsons? We have The Simpsons in the Hall of Fame.
We also
Well,
have Spielberg.
that's
I think Spielberg made it. He'll gnash his teeth and wail, but they'll get in.
But like honestly, above my too obvious is like gratiating the film bros whatsoever. You know,
But I think our relationship to him, even though some may also describe us as bros who are into film, it feels so different. And if somebody's like, "Oh, I don't like that PTA movie," I don't think we like attack them. We go, "Oh, why?" And
this might come up in future episodes of Moody or Movie of the Year. I'm sorry.
yeah, don't let them know what we call it.
We always say the full movie of the year.
Because of certain directors that we might talk about throughout the season. But like, there are certain directors that like Magnolia almost won the first 99 season, was highly talked about in the second 99 season. Not a lot of podcasts can say that. 2 99 seasons.
Yeah.
We did Boogie Nights. Like, I think that his movies have such an incredible chance of making it. And we're supposed to be speaking for the people when we elect our 16, but
Right.
we're speaking for us. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say
Hell yeah.
PTA is in the Hall of Fame. Whose selection was that?
That was mine.
Oh, Greg.
Wish I'd kept my mouth shut.
Woo!
Yeah. That's, to get PTA in the Hall of Fame. And you voted for Paul Rubens?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's,
did.
that's not extra points.
Yeah,
but
that
I'm so
shouldn't be a
glad.
factor here.
Yeah.
Look,
I bet that let us I think also like decide something kind of together. My instinct was that you should think of who your two are and then go with it. But now that's sort of like been a little bit more codified, and
Yeah.
I feel a lot better having done that. You think of I knew who it was right away, and yeah.
And
But,
that's- it's a failing on mine. And I'm aware of this is I watched Playhouse a lot growing up, and then have maybe seen the movie once. Like it's
Pee-wee's Big
a
Adventure?
huge lack in me. Okay, and I know
Yeah.
that, and I'll fix that.
It's just, do you remember? For me, it's his oeuvre, right? That's the whole thing. But you mentioned this when he came back from his big scandal, and I think it was on the MTV Movie Awards. He comes out and he goes, "Hey, heard any jokes lately?" And then he goes, "So funny, forgot to laugh," which was his thing that he said a lot of times. And it was just he owned that moment. He had he had worked his way back in after that.
I just like what comedy means of I know this isn't funny, but it is, but it's not, but it is. Like, it starts with him, and he's who I would put up with The Simpsons and teaching me what that means. Also, I have done so many searches in my Google Drive for show notes when it comes to recommendation. And I'm like, I think with this movie, I'm going to recommend Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And so I will search for that, and it will come up 12. I've recommended that movie so many times.
We all have that.
It is a core text of mine in a way that I wasn't clear of until we did this podcast.
I came so close to recommending a movie tonight that I have already recommended this season. So I did not, but I came close.
Congratulations to Paul Thomas Anderson.
Good year for him.
It's probably been too long. Yeah, and this is the final cap on the one battle after another award season, right? He did it.
He
was
finally did
waiting.
it. He
He's
got
like, okay, the Oscar meant a lot, but what is movie of the year gonna do?
PTA, you are in. When we come back, more Sweetback. Taste buds, it's time. We got two. Can a film be simultaneously radical in its racial politics and retrograde in its gender politics, or do these two readings ultimately undermine each other? Magic, I'm going to start with you.
It can totally do one thing good, one thing bad, because that's the heart of intersectionality, right? Or I guess that would be reverse intersectionality. That we are many things, and it can be progressive and thoughtful in how it treats race, and very retrograde in how it treats sex and gender.
Purposefully, was this Melvin's plan, or just his lack of consideration? What is happening here?
Oh, I think closer to lack of consideration. Greg, sorry.
I mean, I think it was he was trying to express his singular worldview as a way of expressing what black men of his time are going through, and he just I don't think has like a large understanding of like what it is like to be a woman, and so he just kind of
So by seeing what his points are, we're also seeing what points he's missing.
Right, oh yeah, and I think even he's probably like, "What do you mean? I'm all about powerful women. The biker chick had to fuck him because she's so strong."
And
he
the
was-
leader of the gang.
He was the leader of the gang,
Yeah.
right? So there's a little bit in there. Yeah, I mean, he's a very complicated figure. Like, what does it mean to be 10 years old and saved by a group of prostitutes, one of whom, like, let's face it, sexually assaults you when you are a child?
For her pleasure.
Yeah.
And like yells at him when he's doing it wrong, when he's a baby.
And do we see him do we ever see him enjoy sex? It's like
No.
No.
That's what makes it like, does he know what he's doing? Because we're told and shown he's very good at it, but
Yeah.
almost every time Sweetback has sex as an adult, and he becomes an adult, they switch from Mario to Martin in that scene. Because that's what happened when you're 10 and you get fucked, is suddenly you have a mustache. It almost, there's sometimes shot for shot where he's just laying there and the
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
are under him
Well,
like using
No,
it.
it's a tool, like violence.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that is never more clear than when the duel is like a sexual duel that he has to win. But it's like, and if you watch the movie Badass, he's like, I want to reclaim like black men as sexual creatures. We've been like denied our sexuality. But the way he does it is to show, I think, what happens when your sexuality has not been yours. And like, maybe that's actually a complicated analog to describe the female experience. Like, I mean, that is what's true of a lot of women, is that at some point they have their someone like steals their sexuality
Right.
from them, and then it becomes what they leave behind is like something that's kind of broken. And he has this like mechanical sexuality. Like you just like, it's just him pumping away, and it's like he has to do it to get to the next thing that he needs to do.
It also reminds me a lot of like when pubescent boys are molested by their hot female teachers, and everybody's like, "Hell yeah, brother!"
Yeah.
And it's actually not great for the kid.
No, brother.
Yeah, just because you could imagine being young and being like, "Oh, wouldn't that be cool?"
Right.
The experience is not cool.
Yeah, because when you were young, you were actually fragile and not the horn dog you are right now, both of you. God damn it. Bow, bow, bow. Speed round. Oh my God, speed round's over. Let's get to awards.
I had so much more.
All right, gentlemen. This movie was not nominated for any Oscars.
Jeez Louise.
I know. Jeez Louise was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in her wonderful role in Driving Jessica Tandy. And she didn't win because the Oscars hate Tandys. Let's go to fashion choice, Mike. What was the fashion choice of this movie?
We talked about him earlier. The grifter priest has like this weird hat-shaped zebra print, a cheetah shawl, and a massive necklace. He just looks fuck. I know he's a piece of shit, but he looks awesome.
Were you pissed that this was not a shopping spree episode?
Yes, I would have
Yeah.
picked one by one each one of those pieces.
Greg, what is your fashion choice?
It's got to be. I think it's the outfit that we are all sad. When we think of this movie, we think of one outfit, and then he wears it like standing in a shadow for 2 seconds. But it's the black hat and the black like suit. Oh my God!
Yeah.
I think that you had to get him out of that because otherwise it's gonna be too distracting. Often imitated, never replicated.
And that's how we understand that he understands mythology and what you're supposed to look like as a hero. That's going to go to Greg. Greg, musical moment. We did not talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire tonight.
Yeah.
Who came in and did most of the music, although they were guided by Melvin Van Peebles' voice. Just do what my voice does.
Yeah.
And a lot of his voice is in the movie.
I think we've all had that thing where we want to just like do some sounds.
Hey, Danny Elfman,
yeah,
do this for me.
So what I'm gonna go with is any time the saxophone is not playing. I honestly feel like they got somebody who like maybe had 1 year of saxophone lessons, and it is the most discordant, unnerving sound I have ever heard. And I think it's supposed to be, But anytime I was not hearing that sound, I was like, yeah.
I think that's a good rule for sax though, is like now you're supposed to not enjoy the music.
I don't get saxophone on its best day. This was like Lisa Simpson in the opening to The Simpsons.
With her broken reed.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike, music moment.
There's the refrain we hear throughout, variation of they got your brother, they got your mother. They won't get me, or they won't bleed me. They switch who they get and who they won't get or bleed. But specifically, he's cleaning his wound. And at this point, I think what Greg's saying, all the music kind of drops out and it's just the vocals. And he pisses on a rag to clean. I don't think that's hygienic. And then cleans it. But like, it is the most desolate of it, and I think really hits, like, there's been versions of it of hopeful, like, you won't get me, like, the world is evil but you won't get me. And this one, like, I don't know, the way the music drops out but the vocals are there and raw. Super
all right,
powerful.
Mike, I like that. Avant-garde music as well, even though Earth, Wind, and Fire is just pumping out hit after, like, you can see in this movie that they're about to be superstars. And in the movie Badass, they do it in classic, like, biopic fashion of like, hey man, we're just Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you give us a shot?
Yeah.
Mike, cringiest moment. Was there any?
It's Sweetback loses his cherry, and I'm using the language that the film uses. I would never describe it as that, but that was at a certain point, somebody who's going to talk about this movie for more than an hour, you have to get over this one scene because you have to be able to talk about everything else. But it was cringy in the movie, and it was cringy when you learn about everything surrounding the movie.
I wonder if there was a point where Melvin was like, hey, that scene in the middle, it's a flashback where he loses his virginity. Let's move that up front. Let's move that right to the beginning, just so we know. Greg, cringiest moment?
I think it does really set the terms for the movie. It's clearly that one, but I'm going to give an HM, Ryan. I'm going to say there's a part where they go running away from the cops. The bikers take them. They're setting them up. They don't know. The bikers are taking them to a little place to play pool. And there's just garbage on the pool table. Come on.
Is that regulation?
Folks, it's called pool table, but we're not putting anything besides the billiard balls, and like I don't even really want you leaning on it that much, but to just have garbage crumpled up on the pool table, woo.
It's garbage exploitation, which is a genre that this movie started. But I'm gonna give that to Mike. How could I not? Greg, this is probably your first Melvin Van Peebles movie.
It probably is, yeah.
What is the director's signature moment? I feel like this is just a movie nonstop of them.
Yeah, I am going to go with my favorite shot of the entire movie, which is when they go out into the oil fields to beat up the young Black Panther guy on his way up. And then just as they go into the oil fields, it gets like what I've come to think of as Melvin Van Peebles blurry, because he was like literally losing his sight while he edited this movie, and the tracks just split into 3 different tracks. One, the three individual colors, and it's like a psychedelic, weird, trippy experience. It's also something very mundane, which is like in our lives we see oil derricks all the time, pump horses. But to see it like rendered in those colors and everything, it made it seem otherworldly and unfamiliar, and I thought it was a good moment.
Okay, before I speak on that, let's go to Mike.
So I'm not just copying Greg. I'll say the biker sex fight, what they show and what they don't show, the use of shadows, the sound design in it. Again, it's certain stuff gets weirdly quiet and you just hear the voices. Quick cuts to the people cheering it on, and just like the flesh. It's almost, you don't see bodies. They just like zoom in and you see flesh against flesh, and it's not sexual. Like, it's not sexy, rather, right? So it is going to what we were saying earlier.
Despite the possibility that they did have actual sex in that scene.
Yeah, that's one of those sex scenes where you're like, these two people are just having sex. Like, come on. They're like, you can't, there's no way they're not.
I'm going to give this one to Greg because I think that, like, in the movie Badass, and this actually happens at the end of Sweetback, he goes to the desert and does, like, a trip. Like, what is this story going to be? And it's like, I don't have anything except for this scene.
Yeah.
And I will come up with the scene, and then the rest will build itself, and you can feel that in the police beatdown scene. Mike, pound for pound performance, who's going to take this down?
I want to be able to argue John Dulligan as the commissioner, or the grifter priest we talked about.
Proto Lockjaw.
But I think it's Melvin Van Peebles. What he does with Barely Speaking, we've talked about his Barely Speaking, but I think how much he conveys, like the amount of pain and rage and suaveness, like all at once, with never saying 6 lines. The whole thing is bananas.
The fact that he was the man, Melvin Van Peebles, like the man, like
Yeah.
so verbose and like a salesman.
Yeah.
And then, but made sure that like if he's going to play this character, it would stick to Sweetback instead of becoming Melvin. I think is so impressive.
Yeah.
Greg, what do you got?
Even with that, I'm going to go with Simon Chuckster, who played Beetle.
Yeah.
There is so much that is tough to get through in this movie. Beetle comes in and just gives us a very strong comedic performance. He has an entire scene that's like just basically addressed to the camera because Sweetback's just standing there and literally has nothing to say to this guy. But he also he's also the bouncer at the sex place. He's also he's tortured later by the cops. Cops so dumb they deafen him so that, and then later they have to question him more and he can't hear them. And it's
Bad
like,
rat.
yeah.
Is this guy the guy who does the quickest poop in human history with one plop, one wipe,
where
and he's
we
done?
see him wipe his butt, and where we know that he's been in the army or in prison or just like in a boys' camp for a long time because he will just shit in front of another person like it's nothing. There's a certain set of circumstances that you have been through if you will just plop down on the toilet and shit right in front of somebody.
I love Beetle, and like I think that he's the perfect amalgamation of this movie stars you, and then also an actor. Like he's just somewhere in that weird middle ground of like he's so funny and so heartbreaking, and the torture scene is crazy. I'm gonna give that one to Mike though, even though he picked the lead. Recommendation, Greg. We're gonna start with you.
A show that I appreciated when it was on, but I have appreciated a lot more because it seemed to predict the future, is 2019's Watchmen. And the reason I'm thinking of it is because that is about racial dynamics with also being a hero. It has a lot to say about the experience of watching Sweetback for most white people was they had never seen cops portrayed that way. Literally in 2019, people had not heard of the Tulsa Massacre. Watchmen brought that back to everybody. It's inspired in part, the heroics are inspired in part by Bass Reeves, real life sheriff, who was also the inspiration for the Lone Ranger. I see Bass Reeves when I see Sweetback standing there in his black hat and his black shirt. He is both like the hero and the picaro, the rastabout, the scallywag. And because Sweetback shows the world a lot. Watchmen 2019, folks, we have cops wearing masks out there right now. That is as if they were trying to play off of this show. It predicted basically the next 5 years, the next 6 years to come.
Didn't we know to do a Watchmen show is crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's so much legacy to build on. But were they aware, actually, nobody's going to care about that. What they're going to care about is that we taught all white people about the Tulsa Massacre. Did they know that going in?
I mean, that
did.
is the center of a million different things that happen. The Tulsa Massacre is like the pirate ship interlude of the Watchmen, the comic book. It is really at the center of everything. It's like the connecting matter for everything else going on.
I'm going to go real quick. My recommendation for this week is an album that came out the same year, but was built in the same way, despite being music. This is the first time I've not recommended a movie. So,
wow.
Ever?
Yeah, I think so. This is Sly and the Family Stones. There's a riot going on, which was just the record producers and the corporation said do this, and they were like fuck you, and then they made an all-timer that was responsible for so much music after that. It is weird, it is strange. There's not a ton of Sly and the Family Stones greatest hits on it, but it's not that kind of album. It's not that kind of let's listen to the first 3 songs and throw the record away. It's let's sit down and let this album take over me. So to Sly and the Family Stone.
Sure.
Incredible job. Mike, what do you got for rec?
I think this is the most recent rec I could have ever made. It is at the time of this recording in theaters. By the time you hear this, it probably will not be in theaters, but it is They Will Kill You, starring Zazie Beetz, a Grindhouse style film. It is a fucking delight. Rip roaring good time. Has a lot on its mind, but it's hearkening back to the Grindhouse movies, which I think also owe a lot to Sweetback. But so it's not breaking boundaries in that way, but I think we are so used to formulaic popcorn. Here, you do this, you do this, you do this. So throwing back and like choosing to show uncomfortable things or fucking silly things, I think it'll unsettle normal audiences. And it is.
Did you go see that movie in theaters?
I did. It's a blast. A blast and a half.
That movie was a notorious flop. And Mike, you went. I'm going to give you 2 points for just going to see that in theaters. And that is our show, gentlemen. No movie like this has ever been. We've never covered a movie like this. We've never done a Van Peebles movie. We've never done any of these actors. So I don't have any of that stuff. Let's get to possible movies.
Gosh, what would be the
musical moments? We didn't talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire.
For the police captain.
Shithead, police captain. Most because it's most impactful sex or violence.
Okay, yeah.
Most impactful sex. I think that this would be the number
all of
one.
Them?
Yeah.
Most impactful violence might be when the people light that cop car on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what is scary about this movie, I think, is that it's not him. It's that there's the people also seem to be on the cusp of rising up.
I do think that there are a lot of movies in this movie's future. I don't know. Having watched it and then talked to you guys about it, I think that its importance is hard to explain. You know, like I really do recommend you watch this movie. We have to get to the winner. Magic, you got 50 points.
That's pretty good. I bet there's no way anybody would get more than that in one.
Well,
sitting.
actually, we have the scoreboard on the screen.
Yeah, so you could actually just.
But they don't know that.
Who's they? Our YouTube viewers? Greg, you got 51 points. Are you the sweetest Sweetback?
I guess I am, Ryan. I guess I am.
And what, with those words, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We are almost at the end of the season. We have one more movie left, Straw Dogs. And after that, we are going to determine what is the single greatest movie of 1971 for Ryan. I am Mike. I am Greg. Keep watching those movies. Goofy, tell them how they did.
The perfect cast.